Good day to you peeps, Liesl here again, and today I'm coming to us all with the latest part of our community project, which is our Diddley Bow build. And this is my third take, so straight in and no waffle from me, right? Okay, so as we remember, last time we were dressing the box ready to receive all the other parts basically. So that will be the neck, the piezo, the sound holes, etc. And we have an extra little helper today because for the sake of expedience, I did actually dig out the original very basic diddley bow that I did on my previous video, which was how to make a very basic diddley bow. Oh, probably well over a year now. You can see this one's a lot more simple, and I will move on to this in a moment. But it is quite good, this, to show us basically what we're doing. So, straight on. Okay, so last time we fitted those corner supports, or struts as I would call them, and I left those for a good 24 hours because you want those really nice and dry or they can pop out. Basically when you're filing them. I filed them nice and flat. Originally I used, or initially should I say, using the Japanese rasp. This is a solid Japanese rasp. There you go. And then just smoothed the top off with one of these. Now, the real name, the proper name, the technical name for this, and I do assure you, is a hand bastard or a hand bastard. That's what it's called, or a bastard file. Now, I thought I would say that for the sake of the algorithm. I know the algorithm can get upset with technical terms like tuning knobs, G-strings, and hand bastards. But I assure you that's what it's called, right? So if you're in the hardware store, tell the man you want a big bastard and he will give you one of these. There you go. Obviously I wax slightly comical, but that is the proper name. But seriously, I think it's nice once you've gone in with a rasp, that can be a bit lumpy bumpy, so literally flat on the bench, and because this is a long one you can do two at once. See? And just file those ever so flat so they're completely flush with the edge. Don't worry if you take this paper off, you're better off without it actually on these edges, because we're going to glue this one together. Now if you like, you can stick the lid back so that it will open and shut. I'm not going to bother with this because really we're going to fit a piezo which is going to impede that anyway, and I always think it's better just to stick the whole thing together. You will, I mean, and again really, like I say, it can be a pain when you're trying to push everything down. Take my word for it. I never say take my word for it, but I will on this occasion. We're going to do this the simpler way. Once this is stuck, or you can just screw it down if you want to be able to get inside the box again. Don't glue it, just screw it to the corner supports. You get my drift. Yeah, I don't want this to be too long-winded. So yeah, next up is moving on to the sound holes and the holes for the piezo. I salvaged this piezo out of a previous diddley bow and it's huge, look at it. It was stuck in with a foam pad. So I got in there with a long bladed craft knife and just sliced it back out again. I tested it this morning. It does work fine, yeah. So there that is. And there's an easy way to remember really what we want to do here. So for the sake of expedience, I have the original diddley bow, which I had to slightly reconstruct, that I did in my original video, which is a very basic one indeed. As you can see, I didn't put any corner supports. You can still lift the lid up and down. The thing is, you don't really need to do that if you don't want to. But I think it's well worth it. It gives you something solid. It gives you something to attach, you know, together quite nicely, and it will last you for ages. Although that said, my oldest Diddley Bow, still in existence, is about 6 years old now. That's Kitty, she's in the other room. She's like this, although she has got a tuning peg on her now. And she's been dropped, knocked about, all kinds, and has never fallen apart. So it's entirely up to you, yeah, where you go with that. Now, this isn't the original neck. The original neck was a broom handle, which are generally, although they're different sizes, but the ones I use are 25mm or 1 inch in diameter. This is a mop handle, which is slightly smaller. It's about 7/8 of an inch, and I don't know what that is in millimeters, to be honest, but slightly smaller, about 22mm, something like that. So I had to kind of get it to fit without slipping up and down. Easily done. Basically, as you can see there, I just put a couple of wooden wedges. You could use anything, matchsticks. There were just some very thin offcuts of wood where I trimmed something. And then I filled the whole lot with epoxy resin, 2-part adhesive. Now, if you're not familiar with epoxy resin, I will introduce you to it now because it's wonderful stuff. It's not too toxic, it's totally non-toxic once it's dry. And here, in my opinion, is the best brand to get, which comes in 2 tubes. Other brands are available. But I say don't waste your time, buy this. Because a lot of them, they come in like this double barrel tube, so you get an even mixture, is the theory. Although you don't, because it's full of air bubbles. When you go to push it out, you either get different amounts, or the whole lot just spurts everywhere, makes a really horrible mess. It takes ages to dry. You can get it in Poundland. In my opinion, avoid that stuff. This will cost you £6, but there's no wastage with it. I've had this for ages. I use it for a lot of jobs. I've only used half the pack, and I've probably done 4 or 5 guitars with it already. So it's worth, you know, you get what you pay for. It's up to you. Failing that, and if you're on a tight budget, you can use our now famous homemade wood filler, which, as we know, is Carpenter's Fairy Dust and wood glue, or sawdust and wood glue, or I've also heard it referred to as man glitter and wood glue. Yeah, you know the sort of thing. Just water-based wood glue, the white stuff, mix it up with some sawdust, and you know that makes a really good filler. I've used that to seal necks, and they're not budging, they're not going anywhere. Yeah, so there's that part. The only other thing I've done is to make these 2 little cups here, these little U-shaped pieces, which basically is very self-explanatory. Just a square piece of wood, which I used the same hole cutter to cut the hole, obviously, and then split it in half to make these U-shapes. Put it about a fraction of a millimetre higher than the hole, and then you've got a nice tight fit. But we're going to use the epoxy resin to stick that in place anyway at the end. So yeah, Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, and that's basically the inside of the box dealt with. So now we're going to move on to the other bits. Sound holes, yeah, and fitting the piezo. Right, okay. So, for the sound hole, I'm going to use a spade bit. Here is a spade bit. This sort of thing, you can buy them fairly inexpensively. You can also use these for drilling the holes for the neck, obviously. I like the hole cutter more because it tends to shred less. But again, if you do the same as what we did before, just put your drill in reverse, pop it through, and away you go. So yeah, I mean, to be safe and sound, I guess we could clamp this to the bench really. So we'll do that, right. Just loosely will do. Right, now, you can, if you like, there's different ways you can have the sound holes. I think with this, for ease, we'll just have them in a straight line. And I very rarely measure these. I just eyeball them, to be honest. Yeah. And that's what I'm going to do today. So, you can have any pattern you like. You can either have two like that, or you can go in at slight angles, so you've got that kind of nice shape, which might look nice with this design actually. Let's give it a go. What you really need to remember is that you've got to avoid where those corner supports are. They're about 1 centimetre to 1.5 centimetres, or about 1/2 inch square. And the edge of the box, which is about the same as that gold band. So I'd go about there. I think that's the way we're having it. We're going to go either way, so it'll be nice and even. Right, switch, have the drill bit pointing away. Drill, there you go. Switch it on, we're ready to go. Just sort of find roughly where you want it. Make a little mark there. And in we go. You can go in backwards again if you want to save the ripping. We'll do that, shall we? I'm going to go halfway and then go through forwards because it is easier and we don't need to worry too much about how pretty it is on the back. And you see that finishes the job then. So, same again, sort of line it up roughly. So about there. And you can have as many of these as you like. There's no golden rules as we know, right? So I'd say about there. Go in again, start in reverse. Make sure that's out of the way. And that's actually more or less gone through. There we go. So there's two of them. As you can see, they're not the prettiest. And I think because we have got this fairly pretty box, if we do a bit of a pattern, so if we go about there. I'm just going to go all the way through forwards actually because it seems to be okay. Another one. And roughly the same on this side will do fine. So that's about there. So yeah, something like that. Make your hole, and in we go. Put your drill down, probably best on the floor. Switch it off. I always use an old-fashioned drill. I don't like those battery pack drills. They always conk out just when you don't want them to, and you've got to wait for them to charge again. I like the good old 70s style like that personally. As we know, cords and flexes and leads all out of the way. And as you can see, there's your holes. Once we pop these in, and these are quite a nice tight fit actually on here. There's two of them. You can see they're quite pretty. There's two more knocking around somewhere, but this being Liesel, I can't see them right now, so anyway, not a problem. There's one of them, look. That gives us an idea, doesn't it? You may have to go in with a round file and just like scrape those out, but there you go. So we're going to have a nice pretty little pattern like that, which I think does go nicely with this kind of triangle chevron or semi-chevron or whatever you would call it. And there we have the sound holes already done. So I will pop those out for now. So that's your 12mm spade bit. Nice little handy things to have. Next we want to do the holes. Basically for the jack plug and the tuning knob. So yeah, that will be our 10mm and our 8mm, which we have down here. Once again, it's nice to have them a bit out of the way when you're playing, but if you want to put them in the sides, then you're going to need to bore out a recess there, which is doable. But I think with these, and what I would always do on a diddley bow or with this sort of box, is to have it in the lid so it's on the front, because I do find that these are just the right width or depth when you want to plumb it all together, so to speak. So we're going to put them in here, obviously avoiding this and avoiding that. So somewhere about, that's going to be the back, so I would say anywhere really. Hazel. Once I get it all the right way around. And lo and behold, I've done it upside down really. So this one will be upside down, okay the pips? I told you I do not edit anything out of here, right? So yeah, bearing in mind that this one will now be upside down, like my favourite one, the Swish Sweets. We're going to have it here. So yeah, avoiding that and avoiding that. So I would say for the jack plug, we'll probably want to go just past that band there, somewhere about here. So if we do that next, probably best to clamp it. And it's best to clamp this way really if you can. Sometimes you can't, like, because there's things in the way, but with this we can. So I'd say about it. And yeah, nicely switched off. That is our 10, I believe. So if we put that about here, and there that is. Take that one out. And then, again, we don't want it too in the way and we don't want it to clash. We move that. So we've drilled that hole and we want one for the tuning knob, which should be about there. So, and we'll go in about there, I'd say. Perhaps a bit closer about there. There it is. Switch it off. And there you've got your positions. Now, I do find that quite often you do have to go in perhaps a little bit with a round file just to file those out a bit more. But Yeah, that one's still a bit. As you can see, that sort of nearly goes through, but not quite. But yeah, just going with a bit of a round file. It could be that I've got slightly wrong size actually, because these do vary a bit. But yeah, generally same with that, you see it'll go in, but it just needs a little bit more filing out. We do have a round file here, which is in the toolbox. But you get the drift. And you're going to see that on the next part anyway, when we go to fit the piezo, which I often find the best place to have the disc is near the bridge. But we'll cover that in the next video in any case. So yeah, that's basically it for the box. Now, I did say that we would show a different couple of ways of doing this. And hopefully I shall, right? So, if we go back to our old one here. Now I'm going to show you how to do this if you do not have a tuning peg, or if you don't have a machine head, which is a good fun way. You might want to do this on your first build. I did. My first one was like this. I saw Justin Johnson and his mate in Australia, whose name I can't remember, do forgive me, who did a really good tutorial and made one of these in about 20 minutes. So obviously we've drilled the hole in the back, which is I think 4 or 5 millimetre, I can't remember, but we will cover that on the next one. We've already seen we have our little rivet to stop the string pulling through. Here I've got a B string, so if we just slot it on that away so you can see, and that'll all fit in there nicely. In through the back. And there it is. And that'll stop it from pulling through. Get it back on the bench. Okay, now we're going to use a nut and bolt for the bridge, which I do have here somewhere. If I can find it, there it is. So, nut and bolt. That's going to go somewhere there for the bridge. And you can see that. So it'll be somewhere along here. Okay. Now for the nuts on this instrument, we are going to use a hose clip. And this is why I love doing round necked diddley bows, because these are brilliant. So next off we want to place it on the neck before we do anything else, because we need it in situ. And if we have it about there, I don't know what the scale length is, but you can see we just slip that on there, tighten it up. This is just an adjustable spanner, so it does the job. Doesn't have to be absolute tight, so we've got that there, and you can see hopefully, because it's a very fine string, but that's going to come along there over that, which will be the nut, and that gives us our scale length. And because we're not using a tuning peg, we're just going to screw this one in. Now, best way I've found to do that is basically take a screw, run it across over the nut like that, and don't put your bridge in just yet. So have your bridge ready here somewhere, and that's slightly skew whiffy, so let's straighten that up a bit so that the raised part of the Jubilee clip or hose clip is actually sort of in the middle. You can see I've already drilled a hole where we're going to put the screw, because you want to be able to screw that down nice and quick. That's a bit more like it. One for luck. Just making sure it's fairly tight so it doesn't wobble around. There we go. And put your screw in, but don't screw it all the way in, so just screw it down a little bit, fairly straight if you can. I've drilled the hole to sort of most of the length of the screw to about there. And there that is. And if I can just get my slightly better screwdriver. Then, I know you, sorry, keep slipping off camera. It's very difficult to see that we're still in shot sometimes. So if you take this, pass it over your nut, and then just put it under the screw head, and if you can, wrap it round once or twice like that. Sort of fairly tight. And then hopefully when we screw this right in, it will slightly tension it. It's a bit difficult to show you, but if you just screw that right in, as far as you can, making sure that it stays over there. And there it is. And that's pretty loose, but no, that needs to be tighter, so slacken it off. You may find this happening, but that's easy enough, just to unscrew it a bit, unwrap it a bit, get it over there. You can even put it on the edge a bit there to stop it slipping for the time being. So it's kind of like that. Screw it down. So it's fairly, yeah, that should be okay this time. These are the common pitfalls, as you know. Have it there, that seems better. And just screw it right in. That should go a certain way to tensioning it just a little bit more. You can see it makes a nasty noise already, look. So that's just screwed in at the end. And then, hopefully the difference in this, you slide that where the neck is, put it in there, and then slide it all the way to the back of the box. And hey presto, there you go, you've got a sound. And that's one way of doing it. If you want to change the tension, you can move the bridge. As you can see, it's pretty slack. If you go right to the back, whoops. Yeah, it does make a noise. Perhaps better to like loosen that again. Maybe we could loosen that again now and put it through with some pliers. This is why I did actually decide in the end to just use tuning pegs. But I mean, if you don't want to, or if you haven't got one, this is a good way of doing it. So if we slacken it off now, and if we grip it with a set of pliers, that's right, says Liesel, that's it. I'll try and get that a bit more tension on that. That's it, and then screw it down. Bring it in a bit. And there it is. Very basic indeed. Push that in. Okay, well, to be honest, that's a bit of a fail. I would say. It's not, because what you can do is this, right? That needs to be a bit more tight, right? So, if we get a couple of these again, and slot them underneath the nuts on the bolt, right? And then come back. That raises it a bit. And there you go, that's not too bad. And it will actually diddly bow, it should do anyway. Now I didn't bring a slide. What could we use instead? Screwdriver. Put it flat on the bench and we play it lap style. Says Liesl, winging it as usual. Let's see. As you can see, it makes quite a random sound, but that basically is what an original Diddley Bow was. It was literally a piece of wire nailed to a fence post. So that's the very basic way to do it. Yeah, and you can play around till you get that tension. Probably better to use a thicker string if you're going to do it like that. And I thought I'd show you that in any case, because that is the very, should we say, basic way of doing it. But we don't want to bring you that, we want to bring you a nice instrument. So on the next one, I'll have this all ready and all these holes just slightly more filed out and everything, so ready to take our piezo pickup. And I will show us how we go about basically creating the neck. One other thing that I will briefly mention is I did make this little device here, which is well worth making for yourself. Again, I'll cover it more on the next video. But this is what's commonly known as a bench hook. And you can see it's just 3 pieces of wood. That one I've pegged into the edge of the flat piece. So that actually goes into the edge there. This one I've put on top and pegged from underneath. But anyway, really, to make that shape, because that slots on there, and it's excellent for when you want to cut round pieces of dull. You can put them in the jaws of the bench or a vise, but if you're going to do that, wrap it in fabric, because these things will just make horrible marks all up your neck, which you don't want. As you can see with this, well worth making. It's not difficult. That hook's on there, you can put that on there, and then when you put pressure against that with the heel of your hand, you've got a nice, it's not going anywhere and you can saw through it. I'm not going to do that now because I'm not sure on the lengths we want yet, but it's definitely worth, you can probably buy them even, but it's definitely worth making yourself a bench hook if you've got a few offcuts. I will explain further next time, but it's pretty self-explanatory really. And that's about it, peeps, really. So yeah, stay tuned for the next one where we will do the complete neck and then hopefully throw it all together. If not, that'll be in a separate video. But I think that's enough for today. Yeah, it's been quite a long video, so if you have stuck with me, thank you ever so much. We have the body done. You've seen the pitfalls, right? I think it's time I went and had a cup of tea. So there you go anyway. So, you know, whatever you do stay safe, do stay blessed. And most of all, folks, keep building. I'll see you on the next one. Okay then, pigs. Bye for now then. Bye.